All right, we have some breaking news because Trump just slapped a 25% tariff on one of our strongest allies in South America, only reinforcing Trump's obsession with tariffs. And he seems to think it's the only tool America has in our toolbox. But you know the saying, when the only tool you have is a hammer, you'll see everything as a nail. And right now, Trump is recklessly swinging this hammer around and somehow only hitting our allied countries without any regard for the long-term consequences. And my worry is that if he keeps acting like this, which he will, America will be a pariah 1 year from now. Other countries will create a coalition that's economically sustainable without having to use the US as an importer or as an exporter. And right now, we benefit greatly from our standing on the global stage. We benefit greatly from being a leader, but Trump has this obsession with tariffing our allied countries while conveniently not ever coming up with a nickname for Vladimir Putin. Is it weird that Trump calls Gavin Newsom new scum, but he has never come up with a nickname for Vladimir Putin? I digress. Let's break down this article that reads, Trump says U.S. will impose sanctions against Colombia over repatriation flights. And the thing is, it's not just tariffs. He's imposing a lot of insane stuff. Let's just go back. Earlier today, Colombia turned away 2 U.S. military flights with deported migrants, official says. Colombia on Sunday turned away 2 U.S. military aircraft as President Donald Trump pretends to crack down on immigration, but he's doing the routine deportations with a little bit extra racism sprinkled on top. So the other day, they detained a U.S. military veteran because he was just a brown person. So it's the routine deportations, but with a little bit of extra racism sprinkled on top. Colombian President Gustavo Petro condemned the practice, suggesting it treated migrants like criminals in a post on social media platform X. Now, Petro made a post on X that we can translate here. He said, "The U.S. cannot treat Colombian migrants as criminals. I deny the entry of American planes carrying Colombian migrants into our territory. The United States must establish a protocol for the dignified treatment of migrants before we receive them." So he's saying, yes, we will welcome people back into this country, but you can't handcuff them to planes like they are criminals. It is inhumane treatment, and we are not accepting people in this form. So Colombia's decision follows one by Mexico, which also refused a request last week to let a U.S. military aircraft land with migrants. Quote, "The U.S. cannot treat Colombian migrants as criminals," Petro wrote, noting that there were 15,000 Americans without proper immigration status in Colombia, but they're not treating the Americans like criminals. Petro's comments add to the growing chorus of discontent in Latin America as Trump's week-old administration starts mobilizing for mass deportations. All right, so now you guys know where this all started, but it escalated very quickly because Trump has an infantile mindset and doesn't understand what diplomacy is. Dude, the thing is, we are allies with Colombia. We're also allies with Denmark and Greenland, but let's talk about Colombia for 1 second. We're allies with them. When we're talking about our allies, you can shoot them a phone call and work this out without, again, swinging the only tool that you think we have in our toolbox that you don't even fully understand. Like, Trump thinks he's swinging around a hammer when in reality he's swinging around a wrench because he doesn't know what tariffs are in the first place. All right, let's continue breaking this down. By the way, make sure you drop a like and make sure you're subscribed to the Mockler channel for daily breaking news updates. This reads, breaking news. Trump releases statement and announces more severe retaliatory moves against Colombia, including 25% tariffs. That's the crazy part. We can talk about the implications of that in 1 second, but just know that Colombia exports a lot of crude oil and beans, coffee beans. If you guys drink coffee on a day-to-day basis like I do, then be prepared for a little bit more expensive coffee. So they imposed 25% tariffs, a travel ban, visa sanctions, that's a big one if you know a lot about Colombian culture at the moment, enhanced customs and border protection inspections, and financial sanctions. Trump just went scorched earth. He threw an actual economic tantrum in the form of sanctions and tariffs on a good ally. Colombia is supposed to be a good ally, one of our strongest allies in South America. They're a key trading partner. They also help us with security, regional stability, and a senior administration official from Trump said, quote, "This is a clear message we are sending that countries have an obligation to accept repatriation flights." Again, Colombia's president said, we will accept them, but just not in this form. We have to communicate more first. You guys have to have some sort of protocol. But Trump knows, and the people around him know, that our sanctions do hurt Colombia more than they hurt us. We are Colombia's biggest trading partner. We make up 35% of their trade, so it does hurt them, but it also hurts American citizens. People voted for lower prices, and it's just funny. It's not funny, it's ironic that Trump's core economic strategy is to raise prices by tariffing our allies. So when it comes to Colombia in particular, they're a major exporter of coffee, first of all. It's not just liberals who drink coffee. A lot of people in America drink coffee. Also, flowers, they export a lot. Right before Valentine's Day, coming up in about 2 or 3 weeks. This post right here reads, 2 of Colombia's major exports to the US are petroleum. Did I even mention? Yeah, I don't think I mentioned petroleum and coffee. Trump's threat of a 25 to 50% tax increase means higher gas and grocery prices for Americans, the antithesis of what Trump ran on. They also export a bunch of agricultural products. The broad point here is this will raise prices for American consumers because Trump can't help but try to send a message to other countries. He's sending a message to allied countries that the US is not a reliable interlocutor. We're not a reliable trading partner. I've said this at the beginning of the video, but this is going to turn the US into a pariah on the global stage. Colombia isn't just any country. They're not one of our enemies they are one of the most important allies the US has in the Western Hemisphere. When it comes to trade or immigration or even anti-drug trafficking efforts, they've been a reliable partner for decades. So his tantrum is not only unnecessary, it's just recklessly dangerous, dangerously reckless. Either of those work. We talked a lot about the tariffs and the sanctions, but I also want to mention the visa sanctions will hurt a lot of Colombians especially hard because Colombian culture places a huge emphasis on personal connection and family ties, and a lot of Colombian Americans depend on visas and travel and certain types of communication with loved ones when they come over here. Florida, I believe, has a massive Colombian American population. People want to see their families. There are tens of thousands of Colombian Americans who basically just had bridges burned with their family members because Trump couldn't help but throw a tantrum. So, I mean, I think it's a perfect example of short-sighted leadership. In the short term, Trump may get some concessions. Trump may be able to strong-arm certain allies into doing stuff for us, and it'll hurt both Colombia and us. But long-term, goods like coffee, flowers, crude oil will raise in prices. Long-term, this will alienate the US on the global stage, and I honestly would not be surprised if other countries start to communicate behind our backs and create sort of a, I wouldn't say anti-America coalition, because they do still need us as much as we need them, but isolationism works to do exactly that. It isolates us, and other countries will start to realize if America isn't as reliable of a trading partner, let's just replace them. Let's create the mechanisms to replace them, and that hurts us. Having a more interconnected society, having free trade is very, very good. And obviously, if Trump wanted to put sanctions and tariffs on Russia or China, that I have a different view on. That we can make a whole other video on what he should do regarding China, what he should do regarding Russia. I mean, I'd be okay with any sort of sanctions on Russia for their unilateral invasion of Ukraine. That's totally unjustified. But no, he has been threatening Canada. Canada is one of our closest trading partners. I don't mean close in the literal sense because they're close to us geographically, but literally they're one of our biggest trading partners. He's threatened Mexico, he's threatened Denmark and Greenland and all of these allies. Where is the nickname for Vladimir Putin? Why don't you come up with a nickname for Vladimir Putin or Xi Jinping? Where's that nickname? I'll leave it at that. Make sure you drop a like. Subscribe to this channel for more breaking news content. I love you guys. I'll see you in the next video, and peace out.